Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Are you having a good day? You are? I'm so glad because I'm about to make it suck. Have you ever seen this guy before? You might have. He was a huge YouTuber and self-proclaimed a voice of the queer community. I think it's rather telling when someone tries to position themselves as the voice of something. Like if I were to say, I'm the voice of short people named Daniel. What if the other Daniels disagreed? Like, was there a meeting to discuss my new role as the mouthpiece of a generation? This amount of oral fixation should be illegal. If anyone is a good community leader, they'll be put into that position by the group in question, right? Anyways, if you don't know who he is, this dude made dozens of incredible, original video essays about queer media. I'm lying. YouTuber H-Bomber Guy, who makes some of the most consistently good videos I've ever seen on this platform, uploaded a 4-hour video about plagiarism on YouTube, about half of which was dedicated to finding the hundreds of examples that our friend James actually stole the vast majority of his content from books, documentaries, blogs, just basically a bunch of queer creators that he was speaking for. He was their voice, you know? I'm sure they're very thankful. In addition to never having an original thought in his life, he lied about not making money, which got hundreds of people to subscribe to his Patreon, which was already making over $10,000 a month, which is a conservative estimate. That is not including actual videos. He was just making that off of Patreon. He also said he was going to make a short film, raised $60,000 to do it, then just didn't. He said, no, I've changed my mind. Long story short, James is the voice of a generation. Degeneration of my sanity. Losing my faith in humanity. Okay. All of that, pretty much everything I just said, is old news at this point. Our pal James uploaded a really bad apology, then deleted that apology, removed all his old videos, took down his Patreon, and kinda vanished into the ether. And I hoped that this face would never cross my mind again. Then today, as I'm recording this, he has made a new apology video, and it's super fucking long, and it's honestly one of the funniest things I've seen since the toxic gossip train.
All aboard!
So in this video, we're going to unpack this insane apology and make some fun. Maybe learning something together along the way about how to be a true voice for the voiceless. And by voiceless, I mean stealing voices from other people. I think James is actually just Ursula from The Little Mermaid.
What I want from you is your voice.
So, right off the bat, we are greeted by a content warning letting us know that there will be discussion of self-harm. This ties into something I want to talk about more later.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
But just, wow, what a way to start your apology. I understand wanting to warn people, but I don't know, maybe cut that part out of your video where you're taking accountability? Maybe? I don't know. Unless it's possible that taking accountability isn't at all the point here. But I'm sure that's not the case.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
Okay, I know the video hasn't even fucking started yet, but I just wanted to point out it's titled A Measured Response, which is so crazy. If you're unaware, H-Bomber Guy, the guy who made the big call-out video about plagiarism, titles a lot of his videos A Measured Response. So to take accountability for stealing from content creators, James decided to steal from another content creator. The one who was calling him out. Hello, I am a judge, and you are on trial for murder. Oh, come on, man. You know I wouldn't do that. I didn't do it. You are literally killing a man right now. Nuh-uh. He starts off by saying the most insane thing ever.
Just a disclosure, this video is monetized, but revenue from it will be sent along to H-Bomber Guy's team to be dispersed to the people whose work I plagiarized.
Huh? He goes on to say his channel is back up, all the videos are monetized, he's got a new Patreon, and he reached out to the said victims, many of whom didn't respond back to him.
And I completely understand that. In many cases, I wouldn't want to talk to me either.
Holy shit, man. Look, guys, I feel bad. I wouldn't want to talk to me either. What kind of plan is that? Give the arbitrary amount of money that you make from now on off the backs of other artists to some random YouTuber to then disperse back among the artists that you stole from? And we have no way of knowing if he's going to keep his word or if it's even going to be the right amount of money. Maybe he just gives some of it back. And he's just shifting the accountability onto someone else, in this case, H-Bomber guy. What did he do to deserve that, responsibility being shifted onto him? If you want to give back what you stole to try and take, again, accountability, maybe try the tens of thousands of dollars that you made off of their work already, and maybe do it yourself. He says he wants to apologize to his audience.
You trusted me to be a good representative of the queer community. I tried to be. I tried to be a voice for every member of the queer community.
It's always so funny to me when people assume that they have much greater importance than they actually have. Like, dude, you're a YouTuber. No one held a meeting where all of the council members got together to meet up and discuss the gay agenda and made you the ambassador. We trusted you to maybe not steal from us? He says he's a cis white male multiple times in this video.
I'm a cis white gay man. Being a cis white man, white male queer.
To lead into this larger idea that he's trying to present, that because he can't speak for minority groups, that's why he was using their words.
This is one of the reasons that I would use their own words, but I should have made it very clear.
Yeah, you should have made it more clear by, I don't know, crediting when you just paraphrase from a book written by someone else for 45 minutes. This whole argument is so disingenuous. It's like he's implying that, really, he did this for you. You're just too stupid to realize he wasn't stealing. He was being a voice for the voiceless. The fucking arrogance. Holy shit, man. A common theme you're going to notice as we get further into this frankly horrendous apology is that James misses the point over and over and over again by trying to make some grander one about representation.
How can this be for the greater good? Shut it!
He acts like he doesn't know what people are upset with him for, when they've been very clearly telling him for months now. I think he would have been better off asking ChatGPT to generate his apology. So I did. Write me a sincere James Somerton apology video. I want to sincerely apologize to those individuals whose work I have taken without permission. I understand the hurt and frustration that this has caused, and I take full responsibility for my actions. Moving forward, I will ensure that proper credit is given to all creators, and I will work to rebuild trust with the community that I have let down. I'm truly sorry for the pain I've caused, and I hope that you can find it in your hearts to forgive me. Thank you for holding me accountable, and I appreciate your continued support as I strive to do better. Camera fades out as James Somerton looks into the distance with a mix of remorse and determination on his face. See, that was way better, though. What the fuck? Something I started to realize as I got further through the video is that although he says he apologizes over and over again, it's not an apology video. He's stringing a lot of stuff together to create a narrative where he is the victim. It's a series of haphazard and bullshit excuses.
I felt like I had a short period of time to get the next videos out as soon as possible, which is why so little work was put into the writing of them.
As someone who writes their own videos, it's a pretty necessary process. Like, I'm sorry that you had to do work. If you're able to figure out a formula for YouTube or social media, it's one of the easiest jobs in the world. And blaming the non-existent pressure of your platform as the reason that you can't be bothered to write your own video is laughable.
And so much was taken from other places, plagiarized.
Oh my god, dude. He does that. He does that multiple times in this video. He'll say something minimizing about his theft, then he'll kind of look down and correct himself. Yes, dude, plagiarized. That's what you did. Hello, I am a judge, and you are on trial for murder. Oh, come on, man. I like to think of it as letting people through the gates of heaven, but we'll call it murder if you insist.
In some cases, I did get permission, like with the Evil Queen's Disney video. I'll put the email up on the screen.
You might not notice immediately, but what our good friend James is failing to mention is how he made his video and used excerpts from the book before he had gotten permission. He asked later, after he was already called out on it. The author was kind enough to give him a green light, but he'd already sped through the red light. Now there's a huge accident on I-85. The reason people wanted you to apologize is because they want to know that you understand what you did wrong, because they trusted you and looked up to you, and you let them down. That's what taking accountability means. Shouldering the responsibility, accepting the consequences of your actions, and then hopefully changing, not reluctantly, with pettiness or malice, actual understanding. All you're doing in this measured response is making excuses and minimizing. You need to stop deflecting and start reflecting. He also blames his co-writer Nick a few times just by bringing him up over and over again and insinuating that he was also stealing from creators because he was the writer. But if you haven't seen H-Bomber-Guy's video, when he did all of his research, he found a Discord server where sections of the scripts were being shared. And he concluded that Nick's parts, the co-writer's parts, were all pretty much the only original parts of any given James Somerton video. Somerton, however, can't stop bringing up his co-writer and has done it before when similar accusations were made. Kind of sounds like he set Nick up to take the fall if this stuff ever came out, which would also mean that he was aware of all the bad stuff that he was doing. Isn't it obvious that he's aware of the bad stuff he's doing? You, dear viewer, might say. No, think again.
And here's something I'm sure a lot of people will call a bullshit excuse.
Yes, it is. You're right.
I have memory issues because of a head injury from when I was a child. When it came to editing the scripts, I couldn't remember what I'd written and what had been copy-pasted.
I certainly hate it when I copy and paste someone's entire book into my script and forget to edit it at all, so I can relate. This is where his video starts to feel less and less like even an excuse video and more like emotional manipulation towards his audience. He uses a lot of stories from his life to paint himself as the victim, which I think in his mind justifies all of the theft. I have always said that stuff like this can be, an explanation and not an excuse. Imagining for a minute that his memory issues are truly what he's implying that they are here. Why is this the line of work he's in? Like, I'm sorry that you have to deal with that, but again, it's kind of just, hello, I am a judge, and I am trapped in a frightening liminal space between states of being. Not quite dead, not quite alive. No, man, I'm not trying to kill people. It's just my autism. I personally have a lot of weird mental stuff, as you might be able to tell from watching my videos. Most of my in real life friends do as well. In my experience, when people suffer from this sort of thing, over time they develop coping mechanisms and strategies to help them get through all different types of situations. If James was aware that he had this issue, why did he never try to change his routine up? He had a writer, have the writer write everything and pay him more. Make notes, maybe? Don't copy and paste? He says he thinks we're going to say it's a bullshit excuse, and that's because it is one. Your responsibility to not do bad things is still your responsibility, even when you have issues like this or you're in a bad situation. He goes on to say that he's just never thought to try and change those habits.
According to my therapist, my not thinking to do that probably stems from my recently diagnosed ADHD.
Ha ha ha, don't you love it when your ADHD makes you steal from people you claim to represent? Okay, so we're not even halfway through the video, but I'm going to summarize some of it. He tells his audience his mom died and then Nick took over writing completely, leading some to wonder whether childhood head injuries are in fact contagious. He says his father can't read or write and kind of leads the viewer to assume that he's been paying his dad's bills recently, although he never outright says that. Okay, I realize hearing this much woe is me can get tiresome, especially when it's coming from a source like this. And I promise you, we're getting very close to the end. Just hang in there. James talks about his timeline of events for the short film that he was supposed to make and basically just says life happened and he never intended to scam people out of their money. Now, do you remember that trigger warning from way earlier in the video? Here he starts talking about using pills to try and end his life, and I understand. Getting caught must suck. The difference between James and the tens of thousands of YouTubers who weren't caught for plagiarism, myself included, is that we don't fucking do it. I'm sorry, but hello, I am a judge and... Okay, I'm sorry. I feel bad that you're upset that I got caught helping people through the gates of heaven due to my autism, even though I really wasn't, but I feel so bad. Okay. And? So will you let me go now? He says that some vitriolic people showed up to the hospital while he was recovering from his attempt. These people found his address, sent death threats, the whole 9 yards. And even though there's no reason for me to do this since he keeps getting caught in lies along literally every step of the way of this entire situation, I'm going to assume that he's telling the truth here. And honestly, yes, that sucks. No one deserves that, and that probably wouldn't be happening if you left the internet or worked on stuff from behind the scenes or something. I really don't think that you can come back from this, at least to this same space. But he's certainly going to try.
And soon I will be releasing a new video. I want to prove that I have the ability to do this without abusing other people's work.
Here's a quick story. My girlfriend goes to college near where I live, and a student was recently put on academic probation because they used the app Grammarly to spell check their work, and the system flagged it as having used AI. I personally disagree with that ruling, and the student in question is taking the school to court over it. But my point is, when people trying to do academic work are caught plagiarizing, it makes it impossible to trust them anymore, and it's a really, really big deal. Your reputation isn't messed up a little, it's fucking obliterated, it's ruined. And now you're hurting the reputations of every other person in the same field. On top of that, he says that now he's going to write the scripts and he's going to cite the sources and he's going to do everything right this time if he's only given the chance. How does that work if memory issues made it impossible for him to do that originally? He's been called out on all of this stuff by smaller creators for years now. And every single time he has waved it off by saying that they were harassing him or that they are just homophobic. No, dude, you were trying to take their work. And only now when a creator large enough to actually make a difference talks about it, now you plan to change. But also, it wasn't your fault. It was YouTube and your friends and your memory and your ADHD and your situation and your family. It wasn't your intention. Newsflash. Intentions don't mean shit. They only mean something to the one who did the wrong thing to try to justify the wrong thing that they did. If I hurt someone and it's like, justifiable, right? Like obviously there's some gray area if there's a misunderstanding. But if I steal from someone or let's say I physically hurt someone, it doesn't matter if I intended to or not. The person is hurt. And the problem here is that James still doesn't even seem to understand what he did wrong. Aside from all of this, the stuff that he says in his videos is often just plain wrong. Like even when he was plagiarizing, when he would add his own thoughts, it was so wildly incorrect. According to the Rational Wiki, one rather telling lie came about when Somerton claimed that the post-AIDS epidemic gay rights movement was only interested in same-sex marriage and military service, specifically noting that they had no desire to combat employment discrimination. Although this shift did occur, Somerton's example of them not fighting employment discrimination was fucking wrong. They actively did, and even got President Bill Clinton to sign an executive order with the intention of fighting it. James constantly gets things wrong while spreading his narratives.
I know that misinformation made its way into our past videos,
You know how misinformation just sneaks in? I have no idea how it got there. Next, he says he's relaunching his Patreon. Currently, he has less than 20 paid members, which is slightly different than when he was making $10,000 a month. So that's, interesting.
But this video is not about promoting myself. This video is about me apologizing.
There it is. He thinks this is about accountability. But again, misinformation made its way into his videos. Memory issues caused theft. Personal problems outside his control made him take $60,000 of people's money for a product that he never even really started. And anyone who has ever called him out on anything up to this point was just harassing him. This was not an apology. And honestly, it is very disappointing to see.
It was never my intention for anyone to feel hurt or left out. And I'm really, really sorry that that happened.
I am beating a dead horse with a blunt weapon of mass destruction at this point. But this idea that James has, that these issues fell out of the sky, is so laughable. What do you mean you're sorry people feel hurt? Fuck off, dude.
There is no excuse for what I did.
I understand now. There's no excuse. That's why this entire video was excuses. Duh, I'm just stupid. After all of this, he spends some more time emotionally manipulating his audience, then concludes it by saying that he fucked up. Hello. This section of the video from this point onward is unscripted. So yeah, you thought it was over. It fucking wasn't. So a lot has happened since I scripted and recorded and the editing process was started on this video. I had help with the editing for this one, a lot of help, and because of that, it's taken a couple of weeks to make, and I was very close to scrapping the whole thing when this dropped on Twitter. Now, as you can see, this is or could be construed as a suicide note from James. It's kind of hard to do this without writing a script to formulate your thoughts first. I think I see now why he enjoyed plagiarism so much. So this suicide note was posted to Twitter, and I thought, that's it. This whole situation is really, really sad. It's awful. But when has Somerton ever given us a reason to trust the things that he says? A lot of his apology video ended up being him kind of emotionally manipulating his audience. A bunch of Somerton's fans, or former fans, were rightfully worried about his well-being. And a few people on Twitter reached out to Somerton's writing partner, who responded by saying that everything is fine and there's nothing to worry about, which is a little odd, to say the least. And within a couple of days of me recording this end bit, which I'm just going to tack on to the end of the video, HBomberGuy's main editor for his channel also posted a notice to Reddit saying that Somerton is fine. As someone who has both lost friends to suicide and also been in relationships when I was younger where the other person weaponized self-harm as a method of emotional abuse or manipulation, this really, really, really sickens me. And my gut instinct is to get really upset or angry about it. But instead, I'm just going to say that I sincerely hope that Somerton gets professional help, and I hope that he's doing okay. But a whole lot of people on Twitter then started saying that HBomberGuy, the guy who made that original video, was somehow responsible for Somerton's mental decline. All HBomb did was document publicly available information to show what Somerton was doing. Many other creators had tried to get Somerton's attention to let him know in hopes that maybe this was just a mistake, and it was never a mistake. It was always in bad faith. He knew what he was doing was wrong, and he's pretending like he doesn't, and then when he got called out on everything, his immediate response was to basically threaten self-harm in an attempt to, I don't know what, salvage his reputation or make people feel bad. I have no idea, but it's, yeah, I don't know. But if you're watching this and you were already aware of that context now. Here's that context. Back to what I had recorded. Thank you so much for sticking around and listening to me ramble, by the way. Appreciate it. Some final thoughts from the peanut gallery up here. I can't fully express to you how much I hate that he used neurodivergence as an excuse. But at this point, I kind of want to be done discussing this. So thanks so much for watching, my friends. I'm sorry I had to put you through that. As of right now, James Somerton has over 200,000 subscribers and was able to make hundreds of thousands of dollars stealing from other creators and from his viewers. So I guess crime does pay off. Let's take this outside of him for a minute and just say not crediting people is just, it's wrong, you know? Like we learned this in elementary school. It's not, you're supposed to like cite your sources whenever you write a paper, especially like in high school and college, which supposedly James Somerton went to, you know? Like, I digress. Each like on this video equals one cat girl sent by the IRS to force you to pay your taxes. Be sure to join me next week where I'll be wondering how a wild misinformation just appeared in the script I wrote. See you around. The toxic gossip train, chugging down the tracks of misinformation. The toxic gossip train. Misinformation somehow made it into the videos. Oh yeah. I should have a knife. I should not just be jacking someone off.